Hi, everybody, and welcome to this Omni Edition election special. I'm Dan York along with Allyson Bettis as we take a look at the ballot proposals, charter amendments, if you will, that are part of the November 4th, 2014 election here in Garden City and across the state of Michigan and across the country. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you. Always a pleasure to be here.
Now, the object today is we want to go through these ballot proposals, which are, in fact, charter amendments.
Yes.
And even though we have discussed them or described them as housekeeping and some other terms, any charter amendment is pretty serious.
Right, and you want to make, our charter is the equivalent of the Constitution for our city, and you want to make sure that people understand what the changes are and vote consciously on whether they want those changes or not. And so a lot of them are housekeeping, if you want to use that term, but still, the public should know and the citizens should know what's going to be in our Constitution.
Okay. And there are state ballot proposals, there are county ballot proposals, there is a school ballot proposal on this ballot for November 4th. We're going to address specifically the city ballot proposals, the city charter amendments.
Yes, sir.
All right, there are 6 of them. So we're going to go through them one at a time, beginning with proposed charter amendment 1. And it says, shall section 2.02 of the Garden City Charter be amended to provide that persons elected to the office of mayor and city council members shall take office at the first regularly scheduled council meeting following the certification of the election results by the Board of Canvassers. Now, this is a practice which has been in place as long as any of us know and can remember, but it's actually not covered anywhere in our charter.
Actually, and the reason that it came to our attention is because the state government passed a law that says we no longer have a local board of canvassers. And so we never had to worry about when the canvass was going to be done because it was something that we could control. And when it went to the county, the state law changed it to the county's jurisdiction. We had to be cognizant of that. And so we wanted to put it in writing that that's what we do. And so this just says that after the election and as soon as the election has been canvassed, in this case now by Wayne County, that then the successful candidates will take office.
So how many elections locally have we had since this law passed? Just one?
One.
Okay. And in that case, the very next scheduled meeting, we were able to swear in our new council.
That was true. But we had to make sure that the county speeded us up and put us at the front of the line, which they were very accommodating and were willing to do.
Because other communities, some do January 1st, some do random dates.
Yes, it's all across the board, and so we wanted to just make sure we continued with the history that we have here in Garden City.
Okay, so all this says is the next election, once it's been officially accepted by the Wayne County now Board of Canvassers,
correct,
we can swear in our new council.
Yes.
All right. The next one is proposed charter amendment number 2, and it says, shall 2.07E of the Garden City Charter be amended to add a requirement that the synopsis of a city council meeting prepared by the city clerk shall be published on the city's website or other form of electronic communication available to the city, and to delete the requirements for the mayor's approval of the synopsis and its publication in a newspaper. Now, the current language in our charter was written in the 70s.
Easily.
And is based on technology available at that time, which was 3 television stations and a local newspaper. Things have changed ever so slightly since then.
Don't forget Channel 50.
That's right.
Yes, and so we just want to make sure that, one, we are doing things that save the taxpayer money, the dollars that we are entrusted to, and you want to make sure that we get that information out to as many people as possible. Government works best when everybody is informed, and if there's a way to put that information out there, we put it on our website where everybody has access to it, and also reduce the cost of newspaper publication. Why shouldn't we do that?
So currently we are required still in 2014 to publish in the newspaper the minutes of every single council meeting.
That is correct.
Okay.
And so that's quite a costly event, and we want to make sure that we don't have to do it. Now, we did take some cost reduction steps to summarize the minutes, but we'd like to go a little bit further with that. And people who don't have access, there are more people who don't have access to the newspaper than don't have access
Sure.
to the internet. But even the people who don't have access to the internet can go to our library and access it. 24 hours a day, you can go to our police station and access it, or you can just give us a call and we'll send it to you.
Okay. So we've been putting the minutes for our meetings as well as the agendas and everything else on our website ever since we've had a website, which is probably 10 years now.
Correct.
So this is a practice that we already are involved with.
We're already doing, it'll just keep us not having to publish it in the newspaper as well.
As a cost savings to the city.
Yes.
Okay. Proposed Charter Amendment number 3, and it says, shall Section 2.09C of the Garden City Charter be amended to provide that a person appointed or elected to fill a vacancy on the council shall file an acceptance of office and shall hold office until the next regular general city election, when the vacancy shall be filled for the remainder of the unexpired term, if any. So that one is a little more convoluted as far as how it sounds, but the matter here is we kind of had a hole in our charter when we changed from and I'll try to set you up here as well as I can.
Sure.
When the charter was originally passed in the 70s, the one that we have now, the council was made up of 2-year terms only. So everybody had an equal term and everybody started on the same day. But then after that, in the 90s, I believe it was, the charter was changed to stagger the terms of the city council people. The top 2 vote getters receive 4-year terms. So we're never changing more than 4 of the 6 council people at a time.
At any given time.
So then comes the situation we had more recently where someone who had a 4-year term left in the first year of that term or 18 months of that term.
Right.
And the argument became, does the person that replaces them serve till the end of their 4-year term, or do they only serve till the end of the 2-year term? Does everybody move up to account for the fact that there were vote counting? And really, we had a little bit of a mess on our hands.
Well, and we did, and it was quite a bit of a controversy to people whether they thought it should be what the charter said word for word, or whether they thought it should be a step up. And there were so many different possibilities that we definitely needed to make sure that this was codified in a way that everybody is clear and we have an even playing field. So what this amendment does is it makes sure that the person who is appointed to a vacant seat only serves until the next local election, which at the maximum would be the 2 years.
So instead of 4 new council people at that next election, there was the possibility of 5 new council people, but then by the next election, everything sinks back up and gets back into the flow again.
That is exactly right. So even if the vacated seat was a 4-year seat, the election would be for the unexpired term.
Sure.
And that's basically what we did this time, and so that way everything stays in sync. That's a good way to put it.
And again, with a situation like this probably should have been adopted and changed back when the change was made to stagger the terms.
I'll leave that up to everyone's individual decision. How's that? And but yes, it's something that should have been addressed a little while ago, and it's actually the catalyst for all of the changes, because we wanted to make sure that we got that taken care of and anything else that we needed to do.
Sure. And if people haven't looked at it, and most of the people in town have not looked at it, the charter is a very lengthy document, and by the way, it's also available on the city website and it's actually far more organized on the website than the paper document is.
It's much easier to search through. First of all, our entire code of ordinances are on that website, and there's search mechanisms in there, and the charter, which is maybe 50 pages, gives you the base parameters from which we govern, and then the ordinance goes through it. So it's a lot easier to search for things that you're particularly interested in. It's a great reference tool for anybody who wants to know how our city should be operating and things that they might or might not want to change.
Okay, very good. Proposed Charter Amendment number 4, and it says, shall Section 5.03B and 5.03D of the Garden City Charter be amended to permit the City Council to adopt a proposed ordinance after holding a public hearing on it, rather than having to wait until its next regular meeting, to permit publication of adopted ordinances on the city's website or other official form of electronic communication available to the city as an alternative to the current requirement of a newspaper publication, and to require that an ordinance be published at least once in a newspaper during the period of the council's deliberation regarding the ordinance. All right, help me out there.
Okay, that might be our longest in terms of words, but it is pretty much like the Second Amendment. One, it seeks to make sure that we don't have to use the expense of a newspaper publication. And two, it asks that after the public has had a chance to be heard on any particular ordinance, change, amendment, or a new one, that then the council is allowed to vote on it. Currently, the charter reads next, as you said, but the next meeting is what it usually follows the public hearing. So
Because the public hearings are prior to 7 o'clock.
Prior to the meeting, right. So we, again, are just trying to make sure that we codify it so that it makes sense to the average person that reads it. We think that everything in our charter and in our ordinance should be comprehensible to anyone. And so we just want to clear up that language, make sure that anytime that the public has been heard after that point, then an ordinance could be voted on.
Okay, very good. And again, that has a lot to do with technology and a lot to do with the fact that there was no electronic forms of technology available in the 70s except for television. And really our only outlet has been the Observer all along.
And I wonder, and you might know this, and I wonder if in the 70s we had meetings almost every week.
We had council meetings only twice a month, but we had a workshop in the opposite
weeks.
Right.
And so we don't do that any longer, and so this will get things moving along. For example, if there were a fireworks ordinance change, people would want that to take effect as soon as possible,
Sure.
And so this allows that.
Okay, very good. All right, proposed charter amendment. Number 5, it says shall 8.02 of the Garden City Charter be amended to delete the requirement for the use of registered mail for the mailing of notices of special assessment hearings to affected property owners, and provide instead that such notice be sent by first-class mail. This has to do with assessments mostly, is that correct?
It's exclusively.
Okay.
The charter specifies how we notify people, and again, back in the 70s, I'm not sure whether they understood what registered mail is or if that definition has changed over time.
Right, the post office has changed the forms of mail delivery,
right,
and added different layers that didn't exist again 40 years ago.
Exactly. And so because of that, we want to make sure that we do it the way that's most cost efficient to the taxpayer. Currently, one piece of registered mail right now costs just short of $12. And a piece of first class mail costs 48 cents.
Right.
And so we want to go with the 48 cents and not the $12 per mail. So
Sure.
if we mail it to 100 people, that's incredibly cost prohibitive. And
Sure.
so we want to make sure that the language meets what we do now, what
Okay.
the post office does now.
All right. And proposed charter amendment number 6, and it says shall section 11.07 of the Garden City Charter be amended to delete the provision for the city attorney to be a member of the election commission, and provide instead that the city manager shall be a member of the election commission. Now, 2 questions.
Yes.
Election commission does exactly what in Garden City?
The Election Commission has a number of responsibilities. One, they're supposed to appoint the election inspectors, the people that you see and you meet and greet at your precinct and who process you through the voting process.
Okay.
So they do that. They make sure that the ballot language is correct. They make sure that the machines are run correctly. The computer that reads your ballot has to be tested. It's tested, scrupulously. And so they are responsible for, they or their delegate is responsible for making sure that that happens.
Okay.
And I am the chair of the Election Commission, and it has two other members, currently the mayor and the city attorney by charter. Well, at that time, and again, we go back to 40 years ago, at that time we had a full-time, on-staff city attorney. And Ron Mack, I believe, was it for a number of years. And so when that happened, well, that's no problem. He can easily come to a meeting. We already pay him a salary, and so that's no problem. But we haven't, for as long as I've been here, had an on-staff city attorney. So we have to pay the consultant who we hire to be the city attorney and a per hour charge to attend those meetings, and we don't want to do that. So we've changed it to, again, another city employee who's on salary and who we don't have to pay additional costs just to come to these meetings, which are important but perfunctory.
Okay, very good. All right, so all of this information that we just gave you is available, at least the ballot itself. Now, this program that you're watching will air throughout the election season, as well as be available on YouTube at the GCTV YouTube site. But the ballot itself, in its entirety, is available at the city website, www.gardencitymI.org. That's www.gardencitymI.org. But the actual paper ballot itself is right next to you. And we want to show people how it's laid out so they're not totally caught off guard. This is a fairly lengthy ballot this time around.
It's a big one this time. And in addition to all of the state information, we have a lot of information both locally and from the county and from the schools. And so you, when you get to the precinct, will receive 2 pieces of paper as your ballot. And that ballot has something on both sides. The first page has a back and a front. And the second page, just on the front, has all of the local proposals. And so they won't be yellow like these. These are samples, but they will be white and this big, and so it's quite comprehensive. As always, a voter has an opportunity to vote all or none or part of any ballot. And so you just want to make sure that you definitely see all of the sides of the ballot. So that's 3 pages total, 2 pages physically. And I will also mention, just because people ask this question all of the time, can I split my ticket? That's their favorite phrase. Can I split my ticket? So in contrary to the August election, where you could not do that by Michigan law for the primary, you can do that in the general election. So you can select a party and you say, I want to vote for all the candidates from that party. But then you can go and pick an alternate candidate for any particular race. And I want to make sure there will be people at the polls who will be able to tell you exactly what that information is, and they will let you get all the information before you make a decision, and you have a lot of time. Also, anyone can come to our office. They can get a sample ballot. You have been kind enough to put on our website a sample ballot. So if you have access to the internet, please go to the website. You'll be able to see this sample ballot. Of course, the polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And we'll be open on Saturday from 9 to 2 for anyone who needs an emergency ballot. You had to go out of town all of a sudden and you didn't realize you weren't going to be able to be here.
Now, we've passed the deadline to register to vote, but there is no deadline per se for absentee balloting.
No, an absentee ballot, after you've received it, can be turned in at any time before 8 p.m. on election day.
All right. And how do you obtain an absentee ballot? And what I mean by that is, must you be present to obtain an absentee ballot, or must you be present to turn in your absentee ballot? How does that work?
You do not have to be present to turn in an absentee ballot. You can mail it to us. You can put it in any of our drop boxes. And people in your immediate family and in your household can deliver it to us on your behalf. If it's someone other than your immediate family and a member of your house or a member of your household, then they have to sign the section at the bottom of the absentee ballot application that says, I swear I am delivering this because this person asked me to do so.
Okay, very good. And one last question with the, well, actually 2 last questions. in the olden days, the old mechanical machines, and you flip the levers, there was the straight party ticket lever for the Republicans and the Democrats. Is there that option as far as in the paper balloting, and also obviously, and is that available also for non-Republican and non-Democratic party?
Yes, and if you look at the ballot that we have now, there are actually 6 parties that you can vote a straight party ticket on. I'll read them in the order that they are on the ticket, and that's Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, U.S. taxpayers, Green, and natural law parties.
Okay, so someone can vote a straight party ticket with all of them, but you can't vote straight party and then also check different candidates down the page.
No, you absolutely can. You couldn't in August. In the general election, you absolutely can. You can say, I want the blank blank ticket, and then you can say, but I'd like that one candidate from the other party.
Oh, so you can do that?
You can. That's what's called splitting your ticket.
Okay.
And you have it, so it will select all the candidates for that party that you said you wanted. And then, except for that one race, or 2 races, or 7 races.
Did it work that way with the old mechanical machines?
In theory.
Learned something today. How about that? I did not know
I'm sorry, I'm too young. I don't remember.
Yeah, you don't remember those, exactly. Abe Lincoln and I used to vote together. I gave him the theater tickets. Also, the proposals, those had to go to the state first, right? We put those together the best we could, and then they still had to be approved by the state, which actually caused us some hang-ups in this process.
They have to be approved by the governor. And he goes through the state attorney general, and so we sent them originally, and I think that was I was in a Caribbean setting and found out that he did not approve them. And so that
you were in a Caribbean setting, or he was?
I was in the Caribbean setting, and I looked online to see what was going on in my town, and said, "Oh my goodness!"
Oh goodness! Okay, all right, but the state has approved this language, and it's available for people to vote on come November 4th.
I've got an autographed Rick Snyder letter that's saying these are A-OK.
Okay. If anyone is interested in working the elections, I know you probably have trouble finding enough people to fill all of those spots.
We do.
Because it is, how many precincts do we have in Garden City?
10.
And with each precinct you have about how many workers?
Oh, man, we usually, for an election this size, we usually try to have at least 6.
Okay.
And so there's not everybody who can fulfill those needs. It's a very long day. It's from 6 a.m. in the morning before the voters get there till whatever time in the evening until everything has been I's dotted and T's crossed. And so one of the things we've done, and I'm very excited about this again, is we visited with the Garden City High School, Mr. Timmerman and his classes, his AP government classes, and we invited those students because the law says that I can invite 16-year-olds as long as they're residents of Wayne County and that they are U.S. citizens and that they can be election inspectors. And so we've invited them to participate in the process. They learn how the election process works. They are so talented, and they work well with our senior population, who are a lot of my election inspectors. So if anyone visits my office, and we're open Monday through Thursday, 9 to 5, they can ask for an election inspector application. They fill that out, and then we assign inspectors every day. Some people can come sometimes, and they can't come every election, but that's okay. We ask you every election if you're still going to be interested, and if you're up for the long day with just a little lunch break, then we'd be happy to have you as a part of the process.
It is a paid job, though.
It is a paid job, and so I won't tell how much, but no. We're government, and we don't spend a lot of money, at least if we can help it. And so, yes, come on up and see if that's something you'd be interested in. Citizens, it is a government for the people and by the people, and this is a good example of by the people because citizens make sure that that process operates well.
Okay, very good. Again, 6 Garden City ballot proposals, charter amendments, 1 Garden City public school ballot proposal, which is for a sinking fund renewal. There are a couple of state proposals. There's one county proposal. Again, all of this is available on the city's website, www.gardencitymi.org. Also, don't forget, Meet the Candidates will be airing throughout the election season along with this program. And again, you can go to www.gardencitymi.org/GCTV to see the program schedule, as well as find the links to the YouTube site where you can watch these at your leisure. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I'm looking forward to 100% voter turnout.
Very good. Again, just make sure you get out and vote on November 4th. I'm Dan York. Thanks for watching, and good night, everyone.
Good night.